Hello guys and welcome to Python programming tutorials by Amul's Academy. And today in this tutorial we are discussing about a pattern program, that is we want to print numbers in the square shape. So this is our today's pattern. Okay, we want to print 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25. Okay, so we want to print numbers in this square shape. And the first thing about this pattern is, here we want to print numbers in the square pattern. So here number of rows is equal to the number of columns. Okay, so in this pattern always number of rows is equal to number of columns. So next, if you enter the number of row or column as 5, then here we can see 1 2 3 4 5. In the first row we'll get 1 2 3 4 5, and the last number of this pattern will be the square of 5, that is 5 square, that is nothing but 25. Here we can say this is the last number of this pattern, and that is 25. If you enter the number of rows or column as 10, then the last element of first row will be 10, and the last element of this pattern will be 10 square, that is 100. Okay, so this is about the pattern. Next we will see how to write the Python program to get output like this. Okay, so here we will write a general program, so which will give output for any number of rows. So for that I need to take input from the user. So here I'll take one variable called num. This is to store user entered input. Okay, num is a variable. So here I'll use input function and I'll ask the user to enter the number of rows, or you can ask the user to enter the number of columns, because rows and column are equal. Otherwise simply you can ask the user to enter a number. Okay, so next in Python 3, this input function by default take input as the string value, but here we want integer value because number of rows are integer value. So here I need to convert this string input to integer, that's why I use int function. Okay, so now if you enter the input, it will treat that input as the integer value and it will store that integer value in this variable. Okay, next we want to print numbers in different row and column, right? For that we need to take a nested list. So if you ask, in the previous patterns we didn't use nested list, right? We use nested for loop and we printed the output. Why here we are using nested list? It is because here in our program we are not printing the output directly. First we will store all the values in a nested list, then using for loop we will print the output. So here we'll treat this as the first list, next list. Okay, this is third list, this is fourth list, this is fifth list, and this is the outer list. So we'll use the nested list concept here and we'll store these values in the nested list. After storing all the values, next we'll use for loop to print this nested list values. Okay, so here I'll take nested list and you can give any name. I'll take n list. So here to create nested list, so initially I'll take values of the list will be 0. Okay, so for x in range num. Okay, so now if I print this now, here we can see it will ask enter the number of rows. If I enter 5, here we can see it will print a single list with 5 zeros. But here we want nested list, so here what I'll do is I want this to print num times. So okay, so now if I enter this and run this, here we can see enter the number of rows. If I enter 3, it will print 3 nested list. and all the elements are 0. Now if you want to print this in the matrix shape, then you can use for loop and you can easily print that like this. So here I'll take end is equal to /t, that is tab. By default in the print function, end value will be /n, that is after printing one value it will go to the next line. But here we don't want that. After printing one value I want 8 space, that's why here I mentioned tab, okay, /t. Next here after each row I want new line, okay. So after printing one list I want next list to be in the next line, that's why I use print function. Now if I run this, here we can see we'll get the output like this. That's exactly how we want our output in this pattern, right? Now we need to include numbers here. So this is just to show how we can convert nested list in this matrix pattern. Next here, this part is to print the final output. So before that we need to insert the value to this nested list, right? Now it is 0, but we need to insert 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So here we need to do that. So next, after creating a nested list, I need few variables for my program, okay? So now I'll take the variables. So my first variable will be n and I'll assign value 1 to this variable. This is because in the output we can see the pattern will begin with the number 1. Here we can see we need to print first number 1, next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So initially I'll take n value as 1. Next I'll increment this n value by 1 to print this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So initially n value will be 1. Next I'll take two variables called low and high. These two variables will be the range for the for loop. In this program, next we will use for loops. So in that, low and high will be the range of that for loop. So initially low will be 0 and high will be the num minus 1. Here if num value is 5, then high value will be 4, okay? So initially low will be 0, high will be 4, okay? So this will be low, this will be the high value, okay? This low and high range will be helpful to print the outer square. Next I'll increment low value and decrement high value. So increment low value, decrement high value. So this will be helpful to print the inner square. Next again I'll increment low value and decrement high value. It is helpful to print the next square, okay? So low and high are the two variables are helpful to write the range for loop, and it is helpful to print squares. Okay, so first we will print the outer square, next we will print this square, next we will print this square, okay? So for this we need range. Next you can see we will use this as the range, okay? Next I'll take outer for loop, okay? So for I in range, this is the outer for loop, and this for loop is helpful to print numbers in this square. First, when I is equal to 0, it will print this outer square, and I is equal to 1, it will print this square. I is equal to 2, it will print this square. I need to write the range now. When num value is 5, I want this for loop to execute thrice, okay? So we need to find out the general formula, right? Because we are writing a general formula, so we can say num plus 1 divided by 2. For example, when num is 5, 5 plus 1, 6 divided by 2, 3. The for loop will execute thrice. That's what we want here, right? When num value is 5, I want for loop to be execute thrice. When I is equal to 0, I equal to 1 and I equal to 2. Okay, so here I'll take another variable called count and I'll write num plus 1 divided by 2. and I'll convert this as int, okay, because when num value is even, for example 4 plus 1 5 divided by 2, that is nothing but 2.5, right? And we don't want fraction here, that's why I'll convert that to integer, okay. So here I'll write my range as 0 to count. So if you enter the num value as 5, then here 5 plus 1 6 by 2 3, so count value will be 3, so range will become 0 1 2, and this for loop will execute thrice. That's what we want in our output. So next we want to print the numbers, right? So first here now initially, okay, low value is 0, high value is num minus 1. In this example it is 4, okay, so num minus 1, and initially I value will be 0. Here initially I value will be 0, right? First here we want to print this part, okay, 1 2 3 4 5. So here we want from here to here, okay, this will be the range. So I'll take for loop to print this number, okay. So here for j in range, okay, here j is a variable, we are using range function, and we want to print numbers from 0 to 4, okay. So this is the low value, this is the high value. So I'll write the range as row to high plus 1. Because we want to print these numbers, I'll write high plus 1 because in the range function end value will be not included, right? So if I write 0 to 4, it will give output as 0 1 2 3 only, but we want 0 to 4, right? So that's why we need to mention 0 to 5, okay. So here low to high plus 1. So my first range will be low to high plus 1, okay. When the range of j will be low to high plus 1, okay, so I want to add the value to nested list. So I took n list here, nested list name. Next here we can see in this case we want to print row 0 and column 0 1 2 3 4, okay. So for now we want to print numbers in only this row, that is row 0 and column 0 1 2 3 4. So here I'll write I and j, because we know here first I value will be 0, okay, so 0, and j value will be from low to high plus 1, so it will become 0 1 2 3 4. So first it will print the value in 0 0, next 0 1 0 2 0 3 0 4, okay. So here equal to n, because here we took the variable n value as 1. First it will print 1 here, next place we want 2, okay. So here I'll increment n value by n plus 1. So n is equal to n plus 1. So first it will print 1 here, next n is equal to n plus 1 statement will be executed, so n value become 2, store that, next 3, next 4, next 5, okay. So next we want to print these numbers, okay. So here we can see, so this is low value, okay, low is 0, high is 4 right here. So this is low value, we want to print number from here, so this is nothing but low plus 1, right? So if this is low, then this is low plus 1. Then here we want to print till here, that is high. So I'll write range as low plus 1 to high plus 1, okay. So print these numbers, range will be from low plus 1 to high plus 1, okay. So if it is true, then in the nested list, so now in which row and column we want to print numbers. Here we can see, so it is at column 4 and row 1 2 3 4, right, at column 4 and row 1 2 3 4. So for this what I'll do is, so j value is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? First here we need to mention the row. So here I'll take j and here I'll take high, because we want to print numbers at column 4, that is nothing but high value is 4 here. That's why here I mention j and high. This is equal to n. Okay, so next I'll increment n is equal to n plus 1. So here in these places it will print the value of n. Okay, so it will print 6 here. Next, to print these numbers we need to increment the n value. That's why we use n is equal to n plus 1. Okay, next, so here we want to print these numbers, and first we want to print 10, next 11, next 12, next 13. Okay, now I need to write the range. So this is the high minus 1 position and we need 13, so this is the low. Okay, because we want to print number 10 first, so this is the start value of range, that is nothing but start value of this range function will be high minus 1 and the end will be the low minus 1. Because we want value till low, so we need to mention low minus 1. Okay, so that's nothing but here I need to mention start is high minus 1 and end is low minus 1. Here I mention low minus 1 because as we know in the range function the end value will be excluded. Here we want range till low, that's why I mentioned low minus 1, and here step is minus 1. That's because here we can see the index of this value is 3. Next we want 2, next we want 1, next we want 0. Okay, so we are coming from the higher value to lower value. That's why in the range we need to mention minus 1. Alright, next here I need to mention nested list of. So this is the first place where I want to mention the row value, and second I need to mention the column value, and I need to check in which row and column I need to print number. So here we want to print numbers at, if you write row and column, so this is at row 4, right? We want to print all the numbers in row 4 and column 3, 2, 1, 0, right? Yes, so we want row 4 and column 3, 2, 1, 0. So here row 4 is nothing but here we can see high value is 4. So instead of 4 we can mention row as high. So here at the row place I'll mention high. Okay, and next at the column place we want to print 3210, right? So that is the value of j right here. So here I'll mention column as j. So in the outer square, so that is to print this outer square, high value is 4 here. So when row is 4 and column is 3, it will print number here. Next row 4 and column 2, it will print number here. Row 4 column 1, it will print here. Row 4 column 0, it will print number here. Okay, so that's why I mention the index like this. Next here equal to n. Here we can see each time this for loop will execute, n value will be incremented by 1. So here n value become 10. Next, to print remaining numbers we need to write n is equal to n plus 1. So it will print 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so when the for loop will execute, the n value will be incremented by 1. Okay, so this will print these numbers. So next we want to print these numbers. First 14, 15 and 16. 1 is already printed, 13 is already printed. First we want to print 14, next 15, next 16. Okay, so for this is the high minus 1 place and this is the low plus 1 place. Okay, so we want to print first this number, so that is high minus 1. So the start value of range function will be high minus 1. Next, the end will be low because we want to print till here. This is low. So if I mention end value of low, then it will print number till low plus 1. Okay. So So here I need to take another for loop for j in range. So I need to take high minus 1 till low, okay, because we don't want to print the value of low index, right, and minus 1 because we are printing the high minus 1 value first. We need to mention step as minus 1, and here n, this is the row value and this is the column value, is equal to n. Now we need to find out the row and column value. So here we can see, so here if you write row and column value, so we want number at row 3, 2, 1 but column as 0, okay. So here we can see we want column 0 and row 3, 2, 1. So column 0 is nothing but here we can see the value of low variable is also 0. So instead of column we can mention low as the index for column, and here 3, 2, 1, that is the value of j. Here we can see when the num value is 5, high minus 1 value will be 3, so the j will be 3, 2, 1, okay. So here in the row I need to mention j because j value will be 3, 2, 1, and we want to print the numbers at that rows, and here column I'll print as low. So low is 0, so at the column 0 we want to print these numbers, so I'll mention j and low, so that is equal to n, and as usual we need to increment n by 1. So if you ask why we are incrementing n by 1, because here we can see all the numbers are incremented by 1, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are the consecutive numbers, right? The difference between this number is 1, and we are printing these number in the same order, like first we'll print this, next this, next this, next this, next this, right? That's why here we are incrementing n by 1 each time, okay. So next is I'll increment low value by 1 and high is equal to high minus 1. So here if you ask why I took low is equal to low plus 1 and high is equal to high minus 1, these 4 for loops are used to print numbers in different sides, okay. So the first for loop will print numbers here, okay. Next for loop will print these numbers, next for loop will print these numbers, next for loop will print these numbers, okay. Now we are done with the outer square, but we want to print inner square. For this we need to use the same for loops, okay, but here we just need to increment the low value and decrement the high value. Because of that we can print this square, okay. And again after printing this square we will increment low value and decrement high value so that we can print this number, okay. So that's why after printing outer square I'll increment low value and decrement high value, and again the for loop will run with the low as 1 and high as 3 if the num value is 5, okay. So again it will run and it will print the numbers in the inner square. So next here we can see for loop. This for loop is to print the final result, okay. To print the value of 2-dimensional we use this 2 for loop, okay. So if I save this and run this now, so enter the number of rows. First I'll take 5, okay. So here we can see the values, here we can see 5 and the last value of this is 25. So if we again run this, if you enter 10, here we can see this is the 10 and the last value is 100, 10 square. Okay, some of you may have some doubt regarding nested list. So here we created a nested list, okay, using list comprehension method. And here we needed a 2-dimensional list, that's why we used nested list. And if you mention nested list of, okay, so here we need to mention the row value and here we need to mention the column value, Okay, so this is about the nested list and this is about the pattern program. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll meet you in next class. Till then, take care.